Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. We are a people of many ages, myriad histories, manifold genders, multiplex bodies, multifarious identities, and multitudinous beliefs, yet all connected by our shared mission, a mission to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. My name is Ean Behr. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a post-middle-aged person of pallor wearing a brightly colored shirt and rocking objectively phenomenal, partially pink eyewear. I'm happy to serve as your worship associate and to welcome you to this morning's service. If you're visiting us today, we bid you a special welcome and invite you to complete a connection card so that you can learn more about the life of the church and receive our weekly newsletter. And if you're joining us via our YouTube live stream, drop a hello in the chat and know that you too are welcome. We're glad you're here. Please take note of the color-coded lanyards of your neighbors and be aware and respectful of others' needs and boundaries. We are a congregation of all ages, which means we embrace the noises and little interruptions that kids bring to a Sunday morning. As always, people of any age can grab a fidget toy or a coloring pack from the box just out the doors if you'd like to keep your hands busy. And if you need more space to stretch, wiggle around, or just take a comfort break, you can go across the entryway into Fellowship Hall, where our service is being live streamed. Our faith development program is on hiatus for the summer, but the nursery on the lower level is open for the little ones 5 and under. And of course, everyone is invited for coffee and snacks and conversation in Fellowship Hall immediately after the service. And now, I call us to worship with the lighting of our chalice. A flaming chalice has been one symbol of Unitarian Universalism for many decades, a symbol of hope, of reason, and of the spark of the divine that shines within us all. We invite those joining us online to light a flame wherever you are as we light ours with the words of the Reverend Greg Pelly. And so we gather from the ebb and flow of our lives, thirsty for connection to ourselves, thirsty for connection to one another, thirsty for connection to the larger life. As we light this chalice, may all who gather here be filled with hope and joy, filled with compassion and love. Here, may we be filled so that we may pour ourselves out into the world. And now, I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing our opening song, number 188 in the gray hymnal, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. We'll sing it together 3 times.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Ian. Thank you, Michael, for the music. And good morning, everybody. For those who don't know, I'm Reverend Beth Monholland. My pronouns are she, hers, and I have the deep joy of serving as the lead minister to this congregation. In the month of August, while it is still, as I was reminded, the middle of summer, we are exploring in worship the theme of connection. Last week, for those who were here, you were given a serious treat as our worship committee, led by Sam Bashirs, did a service on stage fright. And you got to hear lots of different people reflect on their experiences of getting over their fears, the fear of sharing their gift and of being vulnerable, and of how our connections to each other can hold us in our vulnerability and help us to be both safe and brave. As the month goes on, we'll explore different notions and, pun intended here, connections to connection. But today, I want us to think about how we are literally connected to the earth and to each other. So I have a ball of yarn, you may have noticed. It's not just my fidget toy today. I am going to use this ball of yarn to demonstrate some connections visually for us. We're going to toss it around. But I'm going to toss this ball, thankfully, to bronze. All right, I said I was going to throw it at people, but I'm not going to. There we go. So bronze is a visitor with us. He's visited our service several times. He lives in Bloomington Normal. But Bronze and I, and his husband Will, we all were actually congregants together at the First Unitarian Society in Milwaukee. So we knew each other years ago, but long before I ever answered a call to ministry. And so when Bronze moved over to Bloomington and he and Will came over here and visited, I was so delighted, so utterly delighted to have this connection to Milwaukee. And Bronze's, I think, is Natalie your daughter-in-law? Yep. Bronze's daughter-in-law, Natalie, was a worship associate with me at First Church Milwaukee. So if Natalie was here, we would also throw this ball to her. But we're not going to. Here's who we're going to throw this ball of yarn to. We are going to throw it over to Ian, who is our worship associate today, because long before I ever met Ian was also a member of the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. And he and his wife, Jane, you want to toss it over to Jane? We'll just throw. Oh, wait, you hold on to one part of it, though. You've got to hold on to your side. And you know what? You hold on to it and just pass it to Will. Why not? We'll just make a big. Oh, hold on to your end. And so they all knew each other before I knew them. So they knew each other, but then I knew them, and now they know each other here. Jane, now you know people at this church. So, oh wait, there's Will. Will, throw it to your friend Judy, who came with you today. Judy, do you know anybody in this church? See? But Judy probably knows somebody who knows somebody at this church, right? You got where we're going. I was literally going to do this until we had tossed the ball to every person in the room. And then I thought, wow, then we'll have to re-roll up that ball of yarn. And that will be the whole service. But I think you get what I'm trying to say. I can take it back from Judy. We are connected to people in ways we do not even know. You can let it go. I'll just wind it up. And I think about that. So if anybody read the service description, you will have seen that I talked in that service description for today, the service which is about degrees of connection, about this concept called 6 degrees of separation. And it was first coined in a short story back in the 1920s. And then somebody wrote a play about it, and then somebody turned that play into a movie, and then some other clever people turned it into a game called 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. You should absolutely Google 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon and then play that game. You don't need anything for it, just your brain. But the idea was that if you talk to people enough, you would find that you are just 6 connections away from every single person on the planet. And you might have to dig really hard to find those connections, but they exist. Now, in 1929, the population of the Earth was about half of what it is now. So I think with the billions that we are, maybe we need 12 degrees of separation now to connect us to everyone. But I do want to tell you, as I was thinking about this, as another example, I will tell you that I know that I am just 5 degrees of separation from Joni Mitchell, from David Bowie, right? And here's how. I have a very good friend, also from First U Milwaukee, whose brother is a semi-famous singer-songwriter and has played and performed for like 30 years with folks. A duo that he's played with is a string duet called Sister Strings. And Sister Strings are a sister duo who play violin and cello. They now live in Nashville, but they're born and raised in Milwaukee. They've played with lots of artists, but including touring with Brandi Carlile. Brandi Carlile is deeply connected to Joni Mitchell. So, through my connection to my friend, there is my map to Joni Mitchell. Through that same friend, I mapped to David Bowie, which I just think is the coolest thing in the world, because Sister Strings has also played in a band with the singer-songwriter Allison Russell, who has done a song with Annie Lennox, who of course did songs with David Bowie. So you also could start to do that. If you, like me, have a performing arts background, it's easy to be like, there's the famous people I'm connected to. I think about my husband who has an MFA, a Master of Fine Arts in Interdisciplinary Arts. So he went to school in his graduate program with Rip Torn's son. And I don't know if any of you know the name Rip Torn, but Rip Torn has been a Hollywood actor for 50 years and is one of those character actors who has been in a gazillion things. And so through my connection to my husband, his connection to Rip's son, and his son's connection to Rip, we could be connected to literally all of Hollywood right here in this room. It's a fun game, right? And, well, it's fun to do that with famous people. We don't often think about how we're connected to the random, everyday people in our lives. But I think that's part of what church helps us to do, is not only to recognize our connections to each other, but as Jane said, as she and I were talking about adult faith development this past week, to deepen our understanding of how to be a better human. And connections to each other, even those invisible connections, help us to do that. When we can play and have fun with the threads of our lives, where did that ball of yarn go? We can let go of some of the real differences we have with people. And even if we don't agree with them, we can at least say, whew, I have that connection to you. That's the degrees of connection I want us to explore for the rest of this month, really honestly everybody for the rest of our lives, but intentionally for the rest of this month in worship. So think about your own degrees of connection. I encourage you at fellowship hour later to sit and start to map some people you know. And how many of you in here have been teachers? How many of you have worked in a school or adjacent to the university? Or, yeah, keep your hands up. Like, if you think about the people you have known, whose lives you have touched, that you are connected to, and who they are connected to, the lives you've changed, you would start to be in awe of your own self, but in awe of everybody around you, and the deep web which we're all a part of. So imagine the orange yarn connecting you all. Imagine your own connections, how you are held in that web, and hold on to that. Have fun with it, but also remember that it's a spiritual practice. Spiritual practices don't have to be boring and solemn, everybody. They can be fun. Hope you're having fun. I'm going to put the yarn away. I'll just leave this on for now. Shifting gears into our joys and sorrows. So it's a joy to be connected to you all. It's a joy to be here. For those who are keeping track of time, this is my 4th year with you now, the beginning of my 4th year. Right? So 3 years ago, this week, was my first week at UUCUC. So I've been here for 3 full years. I'm moving into year 4. I don't keep track of, for anniversaries, is it a paper anniversary? I don't know. But it is a joyful thing for me. And I want to lift that up as a joy today. But as you hear me say each week when we gather, we're bringing the wholeness of who we are. We don't ask you to leave parts of yourself outside the door. You're invited to bring all that you are here with you. That means we also hold space not only for the joyful, playful laughter, but also for the griefs, the things that weigh us down, all of the things that make us human. So we'll sing our blessing song today. You'll be invited to come to the table here, or the one in the center back, and drop a stone for your sorrows, a petal for your joy, into the bowls of water. And as they are held in that water, know that you are held in love always in this community. If you have a joy and sorrow that you would like spoken aloud later in the service, and certainly if you're joining us online, fill out a connection card or send an email to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org, and we'll read those after the offering this morning. I trust that this time of collective sharing, that this time of collective ritual lightens your burden and magnifies your joys, even if just for this hour. I invite you to take a breath, and then we'll sing. Pure light,
We live our mission at this congregation by connecting day to day and week to week through the opportunities both within and beyond these walls. This means welcoming new members and engaging with the many opportunities through our faith development, congregational life, and social action councils. This morning, I want to highlight a few things happening in the coming weeks. Registration for Sunday morning faith development classes and small groups such as Soul Matters will begin in mid-August, as will opportunities to lead facilitate classes and groups, or lead facilities. Families with kids, mark your calendars for Sunday, September 20th, when faith development classes will begin. And we will be offering a taste of Soul Matters on August 30th at 1 p.m. If you are interested in joining a Soul Matters group in the coming year, or even think that you might be, this is a great way to experience how groups can deepen your ties to community and spiritual life. And next Sunday, our summer harvest service returns, led by Kiri Fagan-Olmschneider and our worship committee. We invite you to bring fruits and vegetables from your garden or the grocery store to share on the altar table. Read more details about these and other happenings in our e-news, or check out the full calendar events in Realm. Each Sunday, in recognition of our very real interconnectedness and reliance upon one another, we pass the plate and share the offering with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. Our shared offering partner for the month of August is Urbana-Champaign Books to Prisoners, whose mission is to provide books and promote education to people incarcerated in Illinois. You can give through Realm and via the online portal on our website. Or if you are here in the sanctuary, the plate will be passed and checks may be made out to UUC and put shared offering in the memo line. Half of all non-pledged donations will go towards sustaining the work of the church, and the other half will go directly to our shared offering partner. When the music begins, the offering will be greatly accepted, and we invite you to give whatever is generous for you. This is also the time to submit a written joy or sorrow.
beautiful music, Michael. And thank you all for your generosity, for all the ways that you give to this church, not just financially, but with your time and your energy, the way you pour out all your gifts, including your gift of spiritual generosity. We'll take time now to share a few of the spoken joys and sorrows that folks offered up this morning. If you would still like to share something aloud, you're welcome to bring a card up to me or send an email, and I'll be happy to share it. A few things this morning, a joy. Christine Cahill writes that she and her husband Michael are joyfully sharing the bountiful irises divided from their garden this week. You can find them near the Olivet after service this morning, and feel free to take them home with you. This wasn't specifically submitted as a joy or sorrow, but I feel like I need to share it as a deep joy. The choir will begin rehearsing again this week on Wednesday, right here in the sanctuary at 7 p.m. So choir members, yay, rejoin, rejoice, and people who are choir curious, come on over at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Join Miguel and the choir. And some of the joys and sorrows submitted this morning. This is from the chaplain Les, specifically Theo. Thank you for sharing this. It's a sorrow. And Theo shares our 18-year-old cat, the Lamont Cranston, it's the best name ever, unfortunately is on his last leg. He's been in our family for 17 years, and he's been a great kitty. I'm really sorry, Theo. From Katrina Knights, prayers for my online friend Jane, who lost her mother this week. And then a joy from Aaron Slayton. Aaron shares, I am feeling thankful for the connections and positive impact created through the fresh produce provided through Nature Connect. It is really making a difference for a lot of people in Urbana-Champaign. Amen. And thank you, Aaron, for leading that and making sure that our little free pantry has not just canned good items, but fresh foods for people as well. So thank you, and thank everybody who helps with our little free pantry, both by making sure day to day, week to week, it's physically stocked, but also by your donations to make that possible. Just checking the online one more time. And I think that's all that folks have shared today. But for all that we have shared aloud, for all that we know we are each silently carrying in our hearts, I offer thanks for this time of sharing. I'm going to ring our singing bowl and let it take us into a moment of just silence as we continue to hold each other together.
An excerpt from the book Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Scientists are interested in how the marriage of alga and fungus occurs, and so they've tried to identify the factors that induce the two species to live as one. But when researchers put the two in the laboratory and provided them with ideal conditions for both the alga and the fungus, they gave each other the cold shoulder and proceeded to live separate lives like the most platonic of roommates. The scientists were puzzled and began to tinker with their habitat, altering first one factor and then another, but still no lichen. It was only when they severely curtailed the resources, when they created harsh and stressful conditions that the two would turn toward one another and begin to cooperate. Only with severe need did the hyphae begin to curl around the alga. Only when the alga was stressed did it accept those advances. When times are easy and there's plenty to go around, species can go it alone. But when conditions are harsh and life becomes tenuous, it takes a team sworn to reciprocity to keep life moving forward. In a world of scarcity, interconnection and mutual aid become critical to survival, or so say the lichen. And now we'll sing together one more time, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. You may remain seated.
So this morning, when I went for my regular morning walk before sunrise, walked outside and literally walked into a spider web where a moth was frantically flapping its wings. My face hit the moth, my whole head was covered in spider webs, and then as I frantically was getting that off, I looked up and saw a bat flying around, and then was like, oh, a bat! And then as I was marveling over the bat, I heard about 5 crows probably trying to chase off the Cooper's hawk that lives in the neighborhood. And I just stopped for a moment and went, oh, the circle of life. It is very easy when we're looking around at the world, at the spiders and the bugs that they eat, and the birds and the bats that eat the spiders, and the crows that fly around scavenging whatever they can. It's easy to remember that there is indeed a web of life that all things are connected to. At least I think it is. It's easy to look at the trees and the birds that they shelter and the roots popping up sometimes. I can see them in my yard, and the mushrooms that in this humidity have been thriving in my yard. And to know that there is so much above and below and around me that is leaning towards each other, that is working together to make sure life thrives. It's harder, though, I find, to pay attention to how that manifests in the human world. It's harder to recognize the web of connections in the faces of people around me. Certainly when I'm crabby or tired or in my car or in a hurry and I just want someone to get out of my way, it's hard to remember that that is not an inconvenience, but a person to whom I am connected. So I'm grateful for the spider webs and the bats and crows that remind me that unlike what our culture has taught us for several centuries now, we people, we humans, are not separate from nature. We are indeed part of it. We are, as Mary Oliver says, living in a soft animal body that is part of everything else. But the philosophical and religious tenets that have infused themselves into our culture and indeed into our ways of thinking and interacting tell us that humans and nature are two separate things, that humanity is above all else in the hierarchy of life, and that treats all of that life as random bits of individuality with no connections. We are here, nature is there, I am me, you are you. But all of that is a lie, really, a lie of separation. And it is the poison of disconnection that has caused catastrophic damage, not just to the earth, but also to our own bodies and our very souls. We humans have done a lot of harm, not just to each other, but to the world, and we know this. We have slaughtered untold numbers of beings into extinction. We have destroyed entire plant systems that can never be reclaimed. We have dammed rivers and poisoned water supplies as if that water does not seep into the very earth or flow downstream back into our own bodies. And so we must know that, acknowledge that, and also trust that if we can recognize both our ecological and spiritual interdependence, then we can more deeply practice the healing of the harm. Because reclaiming our place in the world, not as the top of the hierarchy, but as one more holy, loving creature, then we start to reclaim our connections to all of that life we've ignored, including the human life. The work of literal healing, healing environmental wounds, ecological ones, healing our social and moral structures that have caused such harm, begins by reconnecting, not just to our humanity, but to our shared life. I think those of us who pay attention to science, which I assume most you do, it's a big assumption. If you don't pay attention to science, you can talk to me later. I won't try to convince you, but anyway, those of us who pay attention to science even a little, and to pay attention to environmentalist work, we know both the fragility and the resilience of ecosystems. How many of you have seen the documentary or read about it of the reintroduction of gray wolves into Yellowstone Park? A fair number have. In 1995, gray wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone. The gray wolves were essentially eradicated from there by the year 1926. Gray wolves had been part of that ecosystem, we can only assume, for centuries and centuries. And then humans got real mad like humans do and were like, these wolves are getting on my nerves and they're eating my livestock, so I will poison and hunt them to death. Thinking that the gray wolves were just an our problem and not paying attention at all to the ecosystem of which they were a part. And so in 1995, they were reintroduced. Nobody knew what would happen. They did not even know if the wolves would actually survive, let alone thrive, but they did. And over the next decade, not only did the wolves thrive, but the entire ecosystem of Yellowstone began to change, began to revitalize. Plants that hadn't been seen there in decades all of a sudden were flourishing. Wildlife that we knew once had been there but that had fled somewhere else came back. Beavers came back and began to do their natural work of taking care of rivers and streams. The waters became clearer and cleaner. Balance was restored. I think about the ways in which we are out of balance because we deny our interconnections. Out of balance because we think, I can do this thing and it won't matter to anyone or anything else, ignoring that we're all tangled up in a big orange sticky web of our own making. But we can see it in nature. We can look at the examples of Yellowstones and the gray wolves. We can look at the research of botanists like Robin Wall Kilmer, whose work we heard this morning, but other biologists and botanists who've been studying plant life and have written eloquently, especially in the past 20 years, of the emerging understanding of the mycelial connections underground, the language of trees and plants and fungi that show the power of both adaptation and connection. Nature teaches us many lessons that we humans, if we were wiser, would attend to. And it's easy, like I said, I think, to see the connections over there in nature. But we see it also if we try, if we look for the connections, if we pay attention to them in our own communities, in our human communities. We can play fun games and map our connections to each other, to some famous person around the world. But we can also map connections to the people in our own midst. The person in the grocery store, whose name we don't know, it wouldn't be that hard to ask. The person on the street asking for a handout. The person who is returning to our grounds, trying to live here, drinking too much beer, that we have to know their name and hold a boundary and say, I see you in your humanity, but you can't do this here. What can we do to help you? We're connected to everybody. We're connected to all things. We are connected even to people whose views we adamantly abhor. And holding on to our connections, deepening our connections, seeing and honoring them doesn't mean that we have to approve of someone's behavior. It doesn't mean we are advocating for their abhorrent beliefs. It just means that we are recognizing the deeply living, loving connection we have to the person behind the belief. That we are letting ourselves not poison the water, but be part of the healing that cleans it. Because it's important not just for who we are right now, but for all the people yet to come. Yellowstone is a healthier ecosystem because the wolves were reintroduced, because the natural balance was allowed to thrive. Times of scarcity are partly why that happened. The elk in Yellowstone had no natural predators once the wolves were gone. They ate too much, they trampled plants, they drove out other things. The abundance, the seeming abundance, led to a scarcity. The wolves came back and they ate a bunch of the elves, everybody. I just said elves, I meant elks. I don't know. Maybe there were elves there, I don't know. But they ate the elks, right? Yep. But taking not abundance or scarcity, but the balance in between the two, that's what it took to restore Yellowstone. And in our times, our human times, when we are living with scarcity, and let me just say, scarcity is real. There are absolutely times of scarcity that are natural and occurring. Droughts are going to happen. Crops are going to fail. We're sometimes going to go hungry. That doesn't mean we have to starve to death. Because the manufactured scarcity under which we live is absolutely manufactured. It's not natural. What we have allowed to happen is that our abundant resources have been hoarded into the hands of a few billionaires. There's abundance, and then there's the manufactured scarcity that harms everybody, that's poisoning all the water. If we can remember that we are living actually in a balance, if we can say we want to create that, and if we can recognize that there's always scarcity somewhere, so we always need to be reaching, like the algae and the fungi, reaching towards each other, not away, we begin to shift the ecosystem around us. I'm not talking so much about changing the entire world. We can't. We cannot change the whole world. But we can change where we are. We can change the person right in front of us. We can let them change us. Just because we can't change the entire world doesn't mean we do nothing. The wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone. They made a huge difference there. Crops still failed elsewhere. Some species still went extinct on another part of the world, just as the wolves in Yellowstone were thriving. We can't change everything. We can change something. And we can change something in the immediate connections that we have. We can be mindful and intentional when we come into our church spaces that we are here to nurture our spirits, to live our mission by building community, seeking inspiration, promoting justice, because those are the only ways to peace. Building connections here that also have threads of connection to other places all over Champaign and Urbana, all over the county, all over the state. We can't be responsible for what happens elsewhere, but we are responsible for the connections we nurture here. We are responsible here for turning scarcity into an opportunity to create stronger and deeper connections, to remember that we are all related. We're all flailing in that spider web, flying around like the crows and the bats. Can we trust that? Can we believe it? That even when we can't see it, even when we can't know it, our connections are real. That even when we don't know the person who's mapping a connection back to us, even when we don't know the impact we're having on the person in front of us and where their web of connections going to go, that those connections matter and are real. And so we practice them again and again, day in and day out, through the despair, through the hopelessness, with the gratitude, with the joy. That's our practice together of connections. UU Minister Reverend Meg Riley talks about it, our interdependence, this way. And so I want to leave you with Reverend Meg's words. She says, each of us, imperfect and vulnerable body spirits that we are, is connected to a vast web of love which holds us and will not let us go. We are connected through our ancient common ancestor to creative lineages that shaped us. We are connected to the unborn who still shine as stars in the sky. We spin this interdependent web from our very lives as spiders spin fierce silk from their spinnerets. It will not let us go, no matter what we do or don't do. May you always know that you are held in this sacred web of love. And in knowing that, my dear ones, may you honor your connections and deepen them every day for your sake and the sake of this beautiful world. May it be so, and amen. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit, and we are going to sing a song. It's from our virtual hymnal from Sing Out Love. We sang this a few weeks ago in July. The lyrics will be on the screen. It's to the tune of Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, which is in the gray hymnal. So for those of you who read music, you can open that to 126. That's Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. But Michael will play. You'll recognize it when you hear it.
For
offer thanks to all of you and for the ways that you help me learn how to live. May we help each other in the days to come. We'll extinguish our chalice this morning with our usual words from Reverend Elizabeth Sully-Jones. They're in your order of service, and they'll be on the screen. I invite you to say them aloud with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fires of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.